Welcome to the Safety and Risk Success podcast with me, Christian Harris. We're jumping into a hot topic this week by looking at ChatGPT. If you've not heard of this, then you maybe have been living under a rock, but I'll explain exactly what it is in this version of the Safety Roundtable, which I'm delighted to share with you today. And specifically, we look at ChatGPT and its uses for the safety profession and discuss whether ChatGPT will be eventually a friend or a foe of the safety professional. We've got a great panel of people who joined this roundtable, including Cameron Stevens, who's been on the podcast before. And if you remember his episode, he is a safety technologist, so he has some great insights to share along the way as we go. We do a bit of background in terms of AI and the effect that it's having on the world and put that into some context historically. We then do a bit of a demo on ChatGPT and then delve into a discussion about the pros and cons, the benefits, the obstacles, and all of that good stuff. Have a play with it. Enjoy this episode. See you on the other side. Cheers.
Welcome to the Safety and Risk Success podcast with Christian Harris. We believe that proactive safety and risk management powers business performance. Each week we explore this theme, sharing guests, stories, insights, trends, hints and tips. You can find us on all the major podcasting platforms, and video versions are available on YouTube. But for now, let's join the conversation with Christian.
Okay, well let's get started. So thank you all for joining today. Looking forward to talking about this topic, which is one that has really captured a lot of people's attention of late, which is AI and specifically ChatGPT. So I'm going to focus on that today as a tool and just explore whether this is something that is helpful or a hindrance to safety professionals. So we can cover a bit of context on it, and then we'll show how it works and provide some use cases for it, so we can see examples of the sorts of things that are possible, and then we can discuss whether those things are good or bad for us as safety professionals. So thank you all again for joining, and we'll get into it. Please keep busy in the chat, and I'm happy to take questions at any time. And then obviously, if you've ever been to one of these events before, we open it up to everybody at the end. And the idea here is for me to speak a bit and give you some thoughts. And then after that, to open up to discussion. And the question we'll be answering is this a good or a bad thing for the safety profession? So a quick introduction to me in case you've not come across me before. My name's Christian Harris and I run a business called Slip Safety Services. I produce different types of content very regularly. So I do this Safety Roundtable every couple of weeks. I have a Safety and Risk Success podcast, and I have a new LinkedIn newsletter called Safety and Risk Success as well. If we're not connected on LinkedIn, then do connect with me. My area of specialism is slips and falls, and in that arena, I've worked with some high-profile cases, won some awards, got some great partners and clients, and do lots of content and events with the likes of IOSH as well. Did an IOSH event just this week, actually. The team and I have helped several thousand sites to reduce their slip and fall risks, and we, on average, save our clients around £10 million a year of claims costs. So we're making a nice dent in that substantial problem. So let's think about a bit of context here. So imagine you are working hundreds of years ago, ploughing the fields on a farm, and you've got to do, let's say an acre or 2 acres, 3 acres, whatever it is. But think about a pretty big area of field. You've got dozens of people working their butts off to plough and furrow and make those fields prosperous in terms of the crops that they produce. And then at some point in time, along comes somebody with a bright idea, and they produce a tractor. And then all of a sudden, you might be looking over the field from where you're breaking your back, working hard, to the other side of the hedge, and you see somebody pootling along in a tractor and doing the work of dozens or hundreds of people, leveraging technology to produce a better or as good an outcome with much less time, effort, and human force, should we say, to get that done. So that's what happened in the agricultural age when technology came along and changed the game. Think a bit further forwards about the kind of industrial era, and imagine going to one of those factories back in the day. So, you would make money as a landowner back in the day, and then moving forward into the industrial age, you'd make money if you were a factory owner and you would deploy people to do tasks at a huge scale, to make things and then sell them on. And then all of a sudden, what happens to disrupt that world of the factory, the industrial age? Well, we get machinery and automation, not this kind of stuff that you can see on the screen as advanced as that, but we start automating tasks, we start putting machinery in place, and therefore similarly we end up with fewer people needed, because we're able to replicate or improve upon the work of all those people through technology. Think of somebody in the modern day. There's a lady here on the screen going for a run, and we've made huge advances in physiology, in nutrition, in how we train, how we look after our bodies. So today's athletes are, faster, quicker, stronger, bigger, with more stamina than ever. But what happens when you've got a highly trained athlete, a Usain Bolt type person, really in that elite level, but you put them up against somebody who's leveraging technology when they're on a bike? Now, actually, over 100 meters, I'm not sure Usain Bolt might stand a chance, but over any kind of distance of any kind, somebody that's on a bike that's leveraging that technology, being more efficient, is going to be getting to their destination much faster than a mere mortal human, even if they're highly trained and in the best shape they could possibly be. So all of these examples over time are ones where we got to the point where we were doing the best that we could as humans, and we organized ourselves and we scaled up our efforts and we did as much as we possibly could. And then all of a sudden something came along in the world through technology which fundamentally shifted the way that the world worked and the outcomes that we could produce. Think of the person on the bike now, let's say, and the breakthrough that we're going to be talking about in terms of AI and ChatGPT is a little bit like trying to stack somebody up on a bicycle against somebody riding a rocket ship in terms of getting to their destination at speed. So we're multiplying the effects of technology and the benefits and the outcomes that we can get in a kind of exponential way. So let's think then of safety professionals. And if you can see the screen, sadly, I've gone for the high-vis clipboard and hard hat stereotype, so forgive me for that. But let's just think of safety professionals. And I suppose the question that I'm answering, that I'm asking on this roundtable, is to what extent the rise of this kind of technology is a threat to the safety professional. Do we wipe out the safety professional through use of some of this AI, and specifically today thinking about this ChatGPT thing, which you may or may not have heard of? So if we cast our minds over just some examples of the types of tasks that you have to fulfill within safety management, employee qualification, instant risk assessment, employee training, incident tracking, action item training, worksite inspections, just a selection of things there that a safety professional would have to do. To what extent could AI help us to do these things, improve the way we do these things, or potentially replace the need for a safety professional in doing or managing these things? And that's the question we're going to be asking today. So, if you've not heard of ChatGPT, then perhaps you've been living under a rock, but it's basically a website which uses all sorts of huge amounts of data and processes data and can answer text-based questions. It can do other things as well, but for the purpose of today, we'll think of it from the perspective of text. And so what I thought I'd do is just give you a demonstration of kind of how it works and some of the questions that you can ask it and the types of answers you can get as a way of prompting us into a discussion about whether this is a good or a bad thing for us as safety professionals. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the screen here, and I've prepared a couple of little prompts that I'm going to ask in ChatGPT. So if you can set up an account, it's free to use, and basically you come to a screen like this and you just type in a question. So let's type in what is safety and see what it says to us. Safety refers to the state of being protected from harm or danger. It can refer to physical safety, such as being protected from accidents or injury, or it can refer to emotional or psychological safety, such as feeling secure and protected in a relationship or environment. In the context of work or industry, safety often refers to measures taken to protect workers and equipment from accidents or injury. So in a matter of seconds, it's come up with a definition of safety. And you could ask it to, there's even fun things you can do. So you could ask it to rewrite in a humorous way, for example. So if we ask it to rewrite that in a humorous way, let's see what it comes up with. Safety, my dear friend, is like a trusty shield that keeps you from getting smacked by life's unexpected curveballs. It's like a helmet for your brain, protecting you from all the dangers you can't see coming. And in the workplace, it's like a superhero suit that keeps you from becoming the office cautionary tale. So stay safe out there, folks. So it's very, very powerful, and I've been using this a lot. And in fact, on my LinkedIn recently, used this this ChatGPT website to create a health and safety policy for a fictitious restaurant. And I was trying to test how much of a health and safety policy I could pull together in 15 minutes flat. And actually, it did quite a good job. I'll tell you what, let's do something like that. So let's ask it. What we need to be thinking about here, guys, is, is this helpful or is this a potential threat? If we can be sitting here and typing these questions in and getting good answers, is that a threat to us or is that something that could help us? What are the key elements of a health and safety policy? A health and safety policy typically includes several key elements, including 1, a statement of commitment to health and safety, outlining the organisation's commitment to providing a safe and healthy work environment for all employees and stakeholders. 2, a clear definition of roles and responsibilities. 3, procedures for identifying and assessing hazards, and procedures for controlling and mitigating risks. 4, provisions for emergency preparedness and response. 5, a training and education programme for employees. 6, a regular review and audit process to ensure the policy is being effectively implemented. 7, procedures for reporting and investigating incidents, near misses and complaints. 8, a clear line of communication and designated safety officer or team in charge. 9, a description of the legal and regulatory requirements. 10, specific measures for vulnerable employees, such as pregnant women, people with disabilities, etc. And it says here, this list is not exhaustive, and the policy should be tailored to specific needs of the organisation and industry. But if you took this list and you said, right, well, actually, I'm a business owner. Let's be a bit disruptive about this. Let's say I was a business owner of a restaurant and I wanted to create a health and safety policy. Do I need to hire a health and safety professional, or could I just type this in? Right, here are the key elements of my health and safety policy. So, right, let's copy number 1. So this is our statement of commitment to health and safety. And then we'd say, please can you create a health and safety policy for Harris's Italian restaurant. Which is in London and has 100 covers. Firstly, please can you set out how the business should deal with, and then you just copy and paste in what they've put in as point number 1. So a statement of commitment to health and safety and so on and so forth. Bang. And within a matter of seconds, it's going to start creating this point. So the restaurant is committed to providing a safe and healthy work environment, etc. As part of our commitment to health and safety, we will continually assess and identify hazards, provide our employees with the necessary training, encourage our employees to actively participate in a health and safety program. And this is bringing out pertinent information at the click of a button, with no time to waste, no time to wait, no time to think, no time to have to consider your options. The stuff that's coming out of this, in my opinion, is pretty decent. And one of the things we've got to bear in mind on this technology is that we're on version 3, I think, of this technology, if I'm correct. Cameron, who's in, will correct me if I'm wrong. But version 4 is going to be multiples better, with multiples more speed and accuracy, and it's going to, because this model just keeps learning and learning and learning and developing. But you can see here, look, it's able to produce something that is a workable starting point for a health and safety policy. And each of these points, you could ask it to go into more detail. So you might, we've got this list here with 8 areas. So we might say, okay, could you elaborate on point number 4? Please elaborate on point 4. And it's going to start doing that. So you can start it off with high level bullet points, but then you can keep asking it to go deeper and deeper and deeper, and it's going to start referring to the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974. It's going to start, if you said it was in New York, it would start referring to health and safety laws in America or in the state of New York, which I think New York is in the state of New York, isn't it? So the knowledge it's got is really interesting and fascinating, and your ability to leverage it to create stuff that is, in such speed that is actually pretty good, to me is really quite fascinating. What about if we said, write a health and safety risk assessment for manual handling in a chocolate factory? So we're getting something very specific here. Introduction. This risk assessment is designed to identify and evaluate the risks associated with manual handling task in a chocolate factory. It'll focus on lifting, carrying, pushing and pulling of chocolate ingredients and products, as well as the movement of equipment and machinery. It's identifying the hazards straight away. It's making it specific to the location that we've set it. It's talking here about the task of lifting and carrying bags of chocolate ingredients such as cocoa powder and what the risks of those are. It's giving you some control measures to come up with. And it's really, going into a fair bit of detail here about all of these points. So, and you can see it's still going. It's kind of producing lots and lots and lots of content. It can't write books, full books. It can only do a few hundred words at a time at the moment, so there are limitations to it. But if you can break up your tasks into small sections like I've kind of done today, then actually you can say, elaborate on this, or give a counterpoint to that, or rewrite this and make it clearer, or write it in Shakespearean English, or whatever it might be, add in some humour, write it in the style of a 10-year-old child. You can do all of this stuff and produce text and content that is that really is very fascinating, and I think could be could be very valuable. So a couple more things just to stir the pot, and then I'd love to get your feedback on this. There's sort of 60 of us in here, so hopefully we've got some things to say. So here we go. Which of the safety, getting to the nub of this question, which of the safety professionals' tasks can AI replace? This is what AI tells us. AI has the potential to automate and assist with certain tasks traditionally performed by safety professionals. Some examples of tasks would include hazard identification and assessment. So AI-powered systems can analyze data and identify patterns that might indicate potential hazards. Risk assessment. AI-based tools can help safety professionals evaluate the likelihood and potential consequences of hazards. Safety monitoring. Talking about sensors and cameras, incident reporting, data analysis and identification of patterns. Compliance monitoring. AI can assist in monitoring compliance with safety regulations, policies and procedures. What does it say here at the end? It's important to note that AI is a tool that can help safety professionals to perform their tasks more efficiently and effectively, but it can't replace the human expertise and decision making. Safety professionals will continue to be in charge of the overall safety management of the organisation and will use the data and information provided by AI systems to make decisions. Additionally, the use of AI in safety management should be part of an overall strategy and should be implemented with caution, taking into account the ethical and legal implications. So I've given you a bit of a whistle-stop tour there, but you can see if I scroll up and down the page, in 10 minutes, we've actually produced quite a lot of information, much more information than you physically could have produced on your own in 10 minutes, I suspect. And I've given you some ideas of the sorts of questions you can ask and how you can prompt it to kind of go deeper. And we've asked it the very same question we're seeking to answer. Can AI replace the safety professional? And the answer that AI gave is that it can help them to do their jobs more efficiently and effectively, but it can't replace them in full. I suppose what's interesting to think about is, that's the current state of AI, but the way this is developing, the way it's the speed of change and improvement in this stuff, that doesn't mean that that's always going to be the case. So I'm going to stop sharing. We can always hop back onto ChatGPT if we want to. Let me try putting my camera on and see if it works since I'm on screen now. Who's had a play with this? Does anybody have any experience or thoughts on it, or does anybody have any initial feedback on kind of the sorts of stuff we've looked at today? Does anybody want to stick their hand up?
Thanks, Yousef. Christian. Is Amir here. I'm from UK, and thanks for providing this platform. So yes, I have tried it, but my only query is if you are putting any information, while I'm putting the same information from my, I would say, different VPN. So would we be getting the same response? Like I just tried it, what AI can replace our safety professional tasks. So I haven't got the risk identification tip, but rest I've got the different prompts. So that's one of my query. And the other one, whatever we getting output from the AI, it needs definitely verified for the accuracy and a proper signed off by the safety professionals. That's my initial thoughts. You are on mute.
Definitely, yeah. Thanks, Amir. And I think this is the first time you've joined, so thank you for coming along. So my understanding of this, I'm just going to pop you on mute, is that it should create distinct and unique answers every time you ask the question. If you ask it a sort of open-ended question where there are different ways of answering the question, I suspect if you asked it, what's 100 times 10, it's only going to give you one answer. So one of the big question marks that people have, that I've heard people talking about a lot, is around copyright, for example. So if I use AI to generate a health and safety policy or an article or something like that, who owns the copyright to that? Is it owned by the AI? or is it owned by me? So there are lots of different and interesting questions around the use cases and the output that you get and the copyright and all this stuff. And I guess it's a very new thing. I mean, Cam, who's on the call, is a real expert in some of this technology around safety, so he might want to chip in on some of these points as well. And feel free, Cam, to just do that if you want to, from Australia, showing the power of technology as we do this. But yeah, whenever I've tried that, and I've tried asking it the same question on different occasions, and I get slightly different responses. So that's my experience.
You want an answer?
Yeah, go on, Cam.
Well, you've prompted the algorithm. So your account that you've signed up on OpenAI, you've got your own account on the left-hand side when you shared your screen.
Correct.
You had your previous history. So that previous history is context for your future questions. So your questions will always take that context into consideration, and you just run a series of prompts. So those prompts will be used to drive the future questions. So if someone else asks the same question, but they haven't had any contextual prompts preceding that, then they won't get the same answer. The other thing is that you can actually provide feedback to the effectively to the system to prompt it with an answer that you think is actually correct. And then over time, they'll validate. It'll be validated with a mass network of, like, for example, I you could write in there who's a leading expert in slip prevention, and it might not say Christian Harris, much to your dismay.
I'm sure it would never say me.
So you might want to say, well, actually, I think it should say Christian Harris. And then if I get the same thing and I say, well, what about Christian Harris? How come he's not on there? Because I know him as the slip guy in my network. Then over time it will learn to include you in the system. So that's effectively how this iteration of ChatGPT 3 version 3 is being used.
And it's only got knowledge up to about 2020. Is it September or August 21 as well? So I think it still thinks the Queen.
It doesn't have recent events.
Yeah.
But given the volume of people, there's been so many people in there. There's such a significant amount of data now being used to effectively be used to then consume and train.
Nice one. That's awesome. Thanks very much for that. Yousef, how are you doing?
Hello, everyone. It's good to be back, first of all, with you guys. When you asked at the beginning who has used it or who used ChatGPT, in fact, the first time I heard of it, it was with you, Christian, when we were exchanging messages on LinkedIn, and I was searching for topics, and you told me it's a great place. And this is the first time I heard of it. And then afterwards, I discovered that on my company where I work in Blue Kango, the IT department relies on ChatGPT to solve some issues, errors, and sometimes. And I was shocked. And digging further and further, I realized that there are a lot of students in the world that they are using ChatGPT to write their reports. So that is another problem, and a huge problem. I will not just deviate. I will stay on the safety issue. But I used, for example, ChatGPT after discussing with you to search for statistics. And it was health and safety incidents and waste management statistics and waste generation in Middle East, and especially in UAE. And it gave me numbers. So I said I was happy because on a side, I was struggling to get some numbers. It gave them to me. But the thing that I was asking myself always, like you've been talking about it also, the reliability of this information. Is it true? Is it... can we read on this information? What I did, I took a copy paste in Google and I searched the numbers. Sometimes I got the problem I got references that there were own bias ideas or bias thoughts, or even statistics that was assumed that there was nothing really, in fact, concrete or like a European study or even a official or government study or statistics done. So I don't think that we can rely on ChatGPT in terms of safety, in terms of statistics. It's good to have general ideas. I saw some people that were sharing, it's good to see what's happening elsewhere in the world, but I think ChatGPT is not there. This is not the reason that we have it. For me, in terms of safety, we can never replace the human factor. If we really want to search for something, we have LinkedIn, we have other places that we can go and reach out for people and experts and talk with them. For me, I am really against replacing the human factor everywhere. I am a bit against AI, but this is my opinion.
Good stuff. Thanks, Yousef. Lies, damn lies, and statistics. That's the saying, I think. Yeah, I used ChatGPT to search for some stats as well, and I kind of found that, like you, I was finding stuff that maybe wasn't that accurate. But then if you look at, HSE talks about the cost of slips and falls being £513 million a year, I think, which is a statistic that they came up with donkeys years ago and have never updated. And actually, just on insurance claims alone, it's well in excess of £1.5 billion. So, even the HSE doesn't necessarily have all of their statistics right. Lewis, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm just wondering from a risk assessment point of view. I mean, I'm not sure, I haven't used this before, but if it analyzes data, and I'm not sure how much data is within its grasp at the moment, but would it not be better at spotting maybe that might not be able to see, for instance, if it can act with several other companies at the same time? I mean, we don't be able to get that kind of information that this might have. So from a risk assessment point of view, it might be better at spotting risks that can be prevented in the future.
Yeah, I guess that could be definitely something interesting. And I think, Cam, you can chime in here because you'll know this as well. But my understanding is that this current version 3 has, if you said that it's got an ability of 10, the next version is going to have an ability of like 1,000 or something like that. It's kind of exponential, the amount of data and the accuracy and the speed and all that sort of stuff. It will increase massively over time. So I think what we don't know now is where it will get to. But I'll give you one story around AI and the speed at which it can achieve excellence, I suppose would be a good word. So they have taught AI for years to play chess, as you may be aware. And I don't know the exact numbers here, but there's a way of ranking your ability as a chess player. And I think his name's Magnus Carlsen, is like the #1 chess player in the world. And I think he's, the highest ever score of a human being ever in history he's achieved. And it's something like 2,000, let's say. And AI has got a score of something like 4,000. And that's been achieved, over years, because there's been different versions of AI. But the most recent story that I heard about this was that within a matter of months, an AI was able to go from 0 to being better than the best ever human at chess. So in terms of where it's all going and what it will be able to do, it's kind of, that's the scary bit, I suppose, or the interesting bit, depending on your perspective, because there's almost infinite opportunities for it. Shabir, you're next.
Yeah.
How are you doing? Or did somebody want to come in then?
Sorry, it was
sorry about that.
Cameron again. Without hijacking, I'll let Shabir speak.
Yeah, thanks. It's just, I suppose I like the idea of the convenience of one place, going to search for one place, and after all, we have Google. But it strikes me that will companies abuse this by paying for answers or paying for results or skewing the results somehow? Do you think that's a possibility?
That's a good question. Cam, go on. Give me your view on that, and then and whatever you were going to say as well, and then I'll give you my view.
Well, I mean, right now, Google is and the other search engines are about as optimized
Have we lost Cam?
A pre-trained transformer, which is what? Oh, sorry, you guys have lost me.
It may be me. I don't know. I lost you for a sec.
Yeah, I lost you for a few moments. Yeah.
So I'll very briefly summarize. So search engine optimization right now in Google is basically what people pay, companies pay to get there to effectively do what you've just said. A pre-trained transformer, which is what a GPT is really searching for large, extremely large data sets. You would need to use some form of technology to create such an extremely large data set to trick the system. So, and to what avail? I think what's happening here is like there's a significant requirement for transparency and trust for people to then be comfortable with the brand. But I think what's critically important here is AI is an umbrella term, and ChatGPT is a tool. One of OpenAI is the company that effectively is the creator of this particular transformer, and it is one tool. So we need to be very clear. I mean, the magic that we've got here is that we're able to ask a question like a human and get an answer back. So when you write a prompt into Google and you write a single search line, you're not getting an eloquent human-like response back. So it's not a great experience. And that's what we're getting here. So if you can imagine the health and safety use cases are going to be your management system in your business, if you can have a ChatGPT style chatbot interface that you can type and say, where in my business, not in anyone else's, but where in my business is the requirements for working at heights, and it gives it back to me very, very quickly, and that's the element where, as you can augment the mundane tasks that a health and safety professional would do in an organization.
I think that sounds like a great idea, and I like that concept. But I think someone else alluded to the fact that you would then look at that answer and then almost verify the answer, as it were. I like the concept of the health and safety, simple stuff that Christian did, health and safety policy. What does it compose of? What it consists of? But then would someone just have to say, yes, it's correct?
That's exactly right. But this is what these are. They're trained. They're pre-trained. They're being trained, and they're continually being trained. So we need to train these effectively algorithms on data sets. And then over time we validate, and every time when you do, for example, those capture things to determine whether it's a set of traffic lights or a truck in the 6 squares, you're training an algorithm. You're the person training that algorithm. So how many times have you done that in the last week, let alone in the last 25 years? Or sorry, not 25 years, 2 years, 3 years, wherever long you've been sort of doing capture type stuff. You've been training an algorithm. And effectively, if you're able to do that in your workplace with a system that you are validating humans in the loop. These aren't systems that are currently running away from us at this point in time. But anyway, I'll get off the horn.
No, it's good. And I suppose what's interesting in my mind about that is that going back to what the point you made, Cam, which is that I'm training, within my feed, the algorithm, and it's learning from what I've asked it and stuff before. What you don't want is this kind of echo chamber, because one of the things that I see in health and safety is that which is a risk of this kind of technology, is that if you spend years crafting your policies and procedures, then you think they're really good, and I'm sure they are pretty good, but you can always learn something more from an external source. Whereas if you've got this closed loop feedback, and you were only ever asking that tool you've developed with your within your business and within the context of your business for answers, it's going to potentially give you the answers that you effectively train it to give back to you. And therefore, are you having that ability to look outside and improve and grow? So that's potentially a little area of risk as well. Richard, you okay?
Everyone, one of the things which might be rather contentious to people in the meeting is the fact that there are a lot of businesses around who are falling foul of not just the HSE, but there'll be OSHA and there'll be other countries, because they don't engage proactively with the regulations. They don't have competent health and safety personnel, and then don't, as necessary, work with external consultants. There is a risk using things like AI, as we're talking about today, that these directors, these people will think, actually, now I'm doing enough and I am going to be compliant. And it could very much throw it into the old saying of a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing. So they, either way around, the AI itself, the technology, needs to be trying to say to people, are you engaged with, have you engaged with a competent professional? If not, step one, engage with competent professional. Step two, use AI as a tool to help. I think it needs to be that way around. My concern is that people will do it the other way around and actually create more problems for themselves than they solve.
Yeah, which is kind of what I sort of, another angle of what I was saying, isn't it, a second ago? So yeah, no, thank you for that. Adam, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I just wanted to reiterate a little bit of what Richard was just saying, because when you did your example of the risk assessment, there was no actual assessment in it. So the scoring matrix wasn't in there. And so, as Richard said, someone might say, right, I've got a risk assessment for doing this job, but what they haven't got is the assessment of, and that can only be a human element of it. So I think things like this need to be taken with a little bit of caution. I had a conversation with some colleagues of mine earlier on today about this very same subject, and we tried different things, and we felt that it's a good starting point, because the time-consuming bit of writing a document is writing it in the first place. And if we've all done it, we've all done bids and things like that, and it's taken days to do it. Well, you can do something like that in minutes with this, but you still need to sense check it, and you still need to make it unique to your organization, because, as has been alluded to, there is the risk that someone putting in very similar questions will get very similar answers. And if you're doing a bid, the whole point of doing that is that you want to differentiate yourself from the competition.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And I think as you say there, the benefit at the moment of this would be to do that first draft in a lot of cases. So, Cam knows this because I told him, but I haven't told anybody else. But I did an article a few weeks ago on LinkedIn on my newsletter, and it was 95% written by ChatGPT through me prompting it and asking it questions and asking it to rewrite and, doing what I so I edited the whole thing, and then I edited it manually, some of it as well. But the majority of it was all written by this, and nobody messaged me or commented and said, this has been written by AI or whatever. So for something like an article, where you're putting some thoughts out there, then I know, because I've done it, that you can use this tool and it can produce some pretty decent stuff quite quickly, and it can enable you to, as we say, have that first draft and then edit it and improve it and stylize it and so on and so forth. Whereas, yeah, for something that's safety critical or business critical, again, you could probably do that first draft, but it probably isn't quite ready yet to go that layer beyond and get to the final finished article.
I will just say one thing. I've not been able to get onto ChatGPT because it's been oversubscribed every time I've tried, but there is an alternative that I've that's in the beta thing that I've tried, and I'll probably be using that. But yes, it does write stuff very quickly that you can then use. So I think it's a positive step as long as it's taken with caution.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. Hey, Tracy, thanks for joining us. How are you doing today?
Hi there, I am well. I'm coming to you from the US, and I heard a question regarding whether or not that what if companies would try to sponsor results. What I think is important to know is that OpenAI was co-founded by Elon Musk, of all people, and it was started as a nonprofit. And the goal was to make sure there was someone to monitor this new artificial intelligence, to make sure it's not slanted, make sure it's not biased. But as we know, Microsoft has since invested over $10 million. So all of a sudden, it's a profitable business. And then people want to know how Google plays into this. Will AI replace Google? And we know that Google is an indexer. So there are two different things, but you also need to know that Google has an AI tool and they choose not to use it because the money is in the search. That's where the advertising comes in. So to that point, they make money when people search and they get to collect advertising revenue. So we're not going to see Google's AI for a while. And then the next question is about the people who think that we don't need, safety professionals anymore. We can just go to ChatGPT, copy and paste. What we need to be telling our clients and potential clients is that there is a human factor. There is true value and expertise. And like you already pointed out, ChatGPT doesn't know anything before 2021. So what we need to be pointing out is that you need us to make sure everything's up to date and to make sure you're following the rules and laws. And finally, if you get in trouble and you have to go to court, ChatGPT cannot take the witness stand, whereas we can, and we can show our expertise. So that keeps them out of trouble.
That's a very good point. You wouldn't want to be standing with an iPad in the witness stand reading out something from ChatGPT. I suspect that wouldn't be allowed, to be honest. Thanks for that, Tracy, and some interesting further background there on this particular tool. I suppose the other thing that Cam touched on earlier as well is that this is only one very small aspect of this whole wave of AI innovation and improvements. And so I picked on this area just because, it's a hot topic at the moment. I don't know if it's become such a hot topic in safety, but it's a massively hot topic in the field of entrepreneurship and marketing and sales. So Cam just said that ChatGPT just passed the bar. So it may be better than some lawyers. That's a good point. And actually, you could use ChatGPT to draft the first version of a contract, kind of as we were saying with Adam, and get a starting point going. So perhaps it is better than some first year associates who probably don't know that much and are just very tired and living off caffeine. There's all sorts of other aspects to this AI piece, but I just picked up on this one because. It's just quite a hot topic at the moment, and I thought it'd make an interesting discussion, which it has. So thanks everybody for joining. I just want to share that the next roundtable is going to be in 2 weeks' time, and we're going to go away from technology and into soft skills. So it's going to be around how to master soft skills for safety. So we'll talk about that in a couple of weeks' time. And look forward to seeing you there 8th of February at 12:30, safetyroundtable.co.uk. If you've registered for the Zoom for this, then you've got automatically registered for that one as well, so no need to register again. Did anybody else have any final thoughts on this before we wrap it up? We've done about 45-50 minutes, so we're about on track for what we normally tend to do. If anybody had any final thoughts, then feel free. What I'd love to know in the chat is, if you could, type in one of two words, friend or foe. Yes, Amir has just written in the chat, a friend or foe then. So based on what we've said, do we think it's a friend or a foe for the safety professional? Friend, foe, friend. Foe. We'll take a straw poll. Friend. Oh, so we're quite split here. Both. Greg's given a nuanced answer there, on the fence, foe, friend. Now it looks as if I would say we're leaning towards friend as opposed to foe, but there are a few people saying it could be either or it could be both, and some people saying foe as well. Well, look, I hope that's been useful and interesting for everybody. Do have a play with ChatGPT, and I'm always happy to have a chat about this on a one-to-one basis as well, because I find all this stuff fascinating. So if you want to pick up on this with me separately, drop me a message on LinkedIn or an email or something, and happy to have a chat about that. And look forward to seeing you all in a couple of weeks for the next roundtable to talk about some soft skills for safety.
Thanks for joining us on the Safety and Risk Success podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please hit follow and do share on social media. Does anyone you know spring to mind as a great guest, even yourself? If so, please contact us on podcast@slipsafety.co.uk. See you next week for another episode.